Welcome back to the fourth consecutive edition of a Victory Monday episode with a special guest of the Purple Rain podcast. Yes, welcome back to episode 271 of the Purple Rain podcast. Ricky Wagner episode, Jawan James, Jermaine Luminor, Justin Ellis, Mala Saleh, Amave Laulu, and why not Jared Gaither, Maryland product. Welcome back to this episode of the Purple Rain podcast. We have a special guest right here. But just thank you all for coming through on this lovely Victory Monday. You can follow us on Instagram at the Purple Rain podcast. You can follow this guy over here on X, on Instagram at SunDef. You can follow me on Instagram at simplyas10.prod or on X at simplyas10. Most importantly, our sponsor, Manscaped. Go on there, stack that card up, code PRP, 20% of your whole order, free international shipping. Lovely jubbly. This guy under here, no introduction, the Engraven Vids. You can follow him on Instagram, on Twitter at Engraven Vids, correct? Or on X?
Yeah, that's it. Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all that good stuff.
Look it up.
Man. Yeah, man.
Google your best friend.
Google them. Exactly. Google them. That's all you got to do, man. Both of these guys, to be honest with you, Engraven Vids, simply as 10 household names in the NFL community, especially the Ravens community, as far as I'm concerned. You know what I mean? These two guys really kind of got me into Ravens community. It's just kind of a fun fact there. Not even a lie. Fun fact. But so shout out to these two guys. But shout out to our guest, Engraven Videos, man. It's been a while since he's been on the show, so this is a pleasant surprise. You know, we got a Victory Monday. We just beat the Washington Commanders, which we'll get into all of that in here in a couple of minutes. But before we do that, of course, we got to bring up who's here in the live chat as we normally would. Of course, we've got Mod Boz in the house. Says, yo, Rain Gang, happy Victory Monday. What's going on, Boz? Appreciate you for coming through, brother. Your Steelers got a victory yesterday. And they actually scored 30 points. So that's something, right? Maybe get into that a little bit later. Oscar's in the house, says Engraven. What's going on, Oscar? Appreciate you for coming through. Yeah, we're hyped to have Engraven in the house on this one. Can't wait to hear what he's got to say about the team. Apro123 says, yo, PRP and Engraven. We got Dre in the house as well. We got Spooky J in here, says, what's up, PRP? What's going on, Spooky J? Tyler Brown in the house as well. Quoney in the house. We've got Dylan. Dylan, what's going on, Dylan? That's my guy right there. And then RJ, Engraven, all my favorite YouTubers in one episode. What's going on, RJ? Appreciate you for coming through. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Zeke is in the house. Sutton Simply and Engraven. What's good? And everyone. Yes, sir. TKIC and PRP collab. You already know what it is. Team Keep It Clean in the house. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay. And of course, we've got Shamil Malik, a Purple Rain pioneer, been coming through for a while here, as well as Lisa Ann in the house as, hey, Alex Sutton Def and Engraven. How sweet was that victory yesterday? What's going on, guys? Appreciate you guys for coming through. And yes, Lisa, we will get into all about that victory yesterday, as it was so sweet. Very, very sweet. And MDT Sports in the house as well. Byron Jackson. I don't want to miss anybody. But yeah, you guys are still trickling through here. Make sure you sound off in the comments. We already got about 60 people watching live. Make sure you like the video. Subscribe to the channel as well. We got a lot more Ravens content coming out for you. Okay. So let's not mince any more words, guys. Let's talk about this Ravens win yesterday over the Commanders. They win 30-23 at home. It felt like, Engraven, I don't know if you felt this way, but I was telling this to Alex on the last episode of the show. It felt like a divisional rivalry leading up to that game, even though we only play them every 4 years. It's kind of like the discourse and everything that I saw on Twitter, with the Commanders having their newfound success with their young quarterback, Jaden Daniels. They were really feeling themselves, and they were making some valid points on how on every metric, Jaden Daniels is this and Jaden Daniels is that. And he certainly proved himself yesterday, I think, and he's proved himself up until this point in the season. But it just felt like it was going to be like one of those immovable force meets like an unstoppable, you know that saying, right? You know that saying. It felt like it was going to be like one of those type of games. So before we get into, all of our vent thoughts about it, we have our first segment, name of the game, which me and Alex have been doing all season long. This one is where we will give you a title that we place on this game, and we will explain that title and give it some context. So name of the game for the Commanders at Ravens. I'm gonna let my guy Alex go first on this one. He sent me his earlier today, and I like it. I didn't even hear the context behind it, but I like it so far. Alex, take it away. What was your name of the game in this one?
It was by land or air. You can stack the box. They had 9 in the box, damn near every play. They kind of were forced us to throw, and that's what happened. Zay Flowers, I thought was going to set their franchise record for receptions and yards yesterday. First half, it was looking good. Second half, didn't get any targets or any catches. But Rashad Bateman stepping up, likely Mandrews. And it goes to show, like, you can try to stop Derrick Henry. We can throw the ball on you, too. And that's, with me saying on record that I like to get another receiver as well. But what we had yesterday, it looked very, very good, very, very scary. And Derrick Henry still got over 100 yards, even when you stack the box against him. Even when you stop him a couple of times in the fourth quarter, that's why you pay him that money. He can close games for you. And like he did in that final drive, that big run really set the tone and really ended the game and took any type of belief that was left on the Commander's sideline. So by land or air, you can try to stop this run. We do have that passing attack you have to worry about as well.
I like that, by land or by air. The movie title that I go with is Closers, The Closers, because that's exactly what the Ravens have been doing, not only in this game, but also in their other wins as well, minus the Buffalo game, because, I mean, that was a blowout. But Ravens, a lot of times throughout the years, we've seen the Baltimore Ravens on the opposite side of these games that end up being close. Because, like, the Ravens, they'll blow a team out the water, no problem. But in the close games, they would struggle and they would just not find a way to win, or they would look for ways to lose. But in this game, and of course the previous others, they found a way to close it out yet again. Jaden Daniels, this going into this game, I didn't necessarily feel like it was like a division matchup, but I did feel like more so from the Commander side. And like you mentioned, they got newfound success, which is a good thing for them. It's been nice to see Jaden Daniels doing this thing. It's been nice and refreshing to see a new quarterback he's nice. Jaden Daniels can play. That man's something serious, and he's only going to get better from here. But I felt like it was more just not even necessarily animosity, but it was more hype on this game coming from the Commanders side than it was from the Ravens side, because with the Commanders, it's been a while since they've been, I guess, a relevant franchise. It's been a while since they've been a franchise that media and analysts have been talking about. So you got to understand, like, that's going to get a lot of hype. They extra hype, as they should be. But the Ravens, this was just, in my opinion, this was just another day at the office for the Baltimore Ravens. And the Commanders did, of course, bring a tough game. They made it very, very challenging, but the Ravens, they found a way to close it out. So, yeah, I'm going with the closers.
Okay. Love that. Yeah, I mean, it really did feel like the Ravens dictated that game and played their game the entire game. And it was a very efficient day, to say the least. And I never really felt like the Ravens were in real danger of losing that game, which is a good thing. But again, it was a gentleman's affair. Not the Redskins, but the Commanders, they kept it very close in that one, or at least relatively close. But that's not my name of the game. My name of the game is actually going to be Back to the Future for this one. And this one, because it was a blast from the past, was it not? When you're looking at Jaden Daniels in that Commanders offense, like, don't you just doesn't it make you reminisce of like 2018 Lamar Jackson vibes, where they just kind of stick him in there, or you can even say 2019, they stick him in the starting, quarterback position, and he's just taking over. He's taking the league by storm. And, it felt like we were looking at a younger version of ourselves in this team, in a lot of different ways. Like, one big reason why the Commanders have had so much success up until yesterday was because they were able to predicate their offense off of a successful run game. Brian Robinson, who I know didn't play yesterday, and Austin Eckler, who's actually been kind of turning the clocks back in a couple ways this year. And then, of course, you have Jaden Daniels as a rushing threat as well. That trio has been really, really good against opposing defenses this year. As a matter of fact, they were second in the league in rushing going into that game. But the fact that they were going up against a team that is basically like their big brother in a way, like, we know exactly how you guys want to run that offense. We know that you have a younger quarterback who he's really good with his leg. He's electric with his legs, right? And you want to predicate your passing game off of your run game. We can shut down your run game. Jaden Daniels was the leading rusher yesterday. He had like 20-something yards, like 24 yards rushing. He was their leading rusher. And again, I understand they did not have Brian Robinson, but I don't think that would have made much of a difference. He might have cut into that, a little bit more. He might have maybe had 20, 30 yards, something like that. I don't want to speculate too much on that, but this Ravens run defense is just stout. right? And like I said, again, it just felt like we were looking back into like a younger version of ourselves, and that's why we were able to kind of like control and in a lot of ways, in some ways, manhandle that game. I mean, you look at Derrick Henry, 132 yards rushing off of 24 carries. I think that's the perfect amount of carries to give him. You have Zay Flowers, who's getting open off of this play action because they're faking it to Derrick Henry. He's over the middle. Listen, Zay Flowers was absolutely unguardable over the middle. I think we just had a little bit too much firepower. We were just a little bit too much for the Washington Commanders up until this point. And another thing that could have been questioned going into that game was the level of competition that they were facing going into it.
Right.
And they really hadn't played too many really, really good teams. So we'll see what they do going forward. But that's going to be my name of the game, Back to the Future, because it really felt like it was a blast from the past. It felt like we were again facing like our little brothers in a way. And I don't mean that in a condescending way towards Commanders fans. If you're a Commanders fan and watching this, I know how that can sound very, very condescending right now, especially after we just won the game. But no, like I really have a lot of confidence in the Commanders to really make some noise, not only in the NFC East, but in the NFC as a whole. I know there's a lot of competition brewing in the NFC with a lot of young quarterbacks and things happening, but the Commanders are right there, man. So that's going to be my name of the game, Back to the Future. It was a blast from the past for me.
Yeah, I like that one.
I can see that. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, and we're talking about receivers. I got to give Rashad Bateman a shout out. He was getting open every play. Like, genuinely, I was there, and most of the time, he was just getting separation every time. And it was, pressure was getting to Lamar, but he could have thrown him every play, and he most likely would have made the grab. He's really responded to a lot of criticism he received in the offseason, and it brings me so much happiness. Like, he seems like a different player. He's very confident. The way he talks after the game, you can tell like it's all coming together, and that does wonders for this Ravens offense. And even Mark Andrews now, too. Like, you have to worry about Andrews because he had himself a game as well. After that tipped interception, I was like, oh my gosh, like it's like this is a downfall of Mark Andrews. Like, I thought like it was over, and the way he responded back with those getting open, a touchdown, it's who you're gonna guard. And now Charlie Collard didn't have a catch yesterday, but he's viable to break 1 for 50. So it's nice to have all these weapons right now, and still the possibility of adding one more. I'm really excited about what this offense can do. And Todd Monken, by the way, what a game plan! I thought he called a perfect freaking game. He's been unreal. Man, he's done wonders.
And it's funny you talk about Rashad Bateman. Like, going into this season, there was a million question marks about Rashad Bateman. How is he going to be? Is he even that good? How is him and Lamar's chemistry going to be? But we've been seeing as the season's gone along, like their chemistry just keeps going up and up and up. And then you think about with Zay Flowers, I think yesterday he had 9 catches for 100-something yards on 9 targets. So every single pass Lamar Jackson threw Zay Flowers' way, he caught it. If you would have asked last year, like, what would be Rashad Bateman, his catch to target ratio? Will he catch every single target that goes his way? Most people would say no, for sure. But yesterday, he had 4 targets and he had 4 catches. And it wasn't just like little layup footballs either. Like, Lamar's getting on the ball and he was making some tough catches and making some plays after the catch too. So if we think about right now, after 6 games, with how Rashad Bateman and Lamar Jackson, how their chemistry is now, like it's only going to keep going up from here. So Rashad Bateman can only get better from here. Something that he said after the game, and Gianna J, she had the quote. He said that Zay Flowers is wide receiver 1. Like, he said, Zay Flowers wide receiver 1, and he's getting the numbers. He's up there with a lot of those number 1 guys around the league. And to see him say that, I was like, whoa, that takes a lot, because you think about this too. Rashad Bateman was drafted in 2021, 1st round pick, and he was drafted by these Baltimore Ravens. And it ain't like he was a player that was drafted by another team and the Ravens traded for him later on. No, he was drafted by the Ravens, the same GM, the same head coach, the same quarterback, same team. And Zay Flowers, he was also a 1st round pick wide receiver. So Zay Flowers came years after Rashad Bateman came. So the expectation would be like, oh yeah, of course, a 1st round draft pick at wide receiver. He's expected to be wide receiver 1 for that team. But obviously it hadn't worked out thus far with Rashad Bateman. Well, to that point, when they drafted Zay Flowers, and Zay Flowers last year, he did amazing. And Rashad Bateman, he did like so-so. But for him to just have that level of humility to be able to say something like that, even though it's something that we all know, But for him to come out and say that publicly, like give Zay Flowers his flowers publicly about being wide receiver one over him, somebody that's been here, I just think that shows such a level of maturity from Rashad Bateman. And you could tell like this season, it's just been a lot of growth for him.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Rashad Bateman agenda has been very, very strong on this podcast alone. I know that for sure. Alex and I have really been Bateman truthers for the majority of his career, if not his entire career, especially while he's on the field. I mean, but like my thing about Rashad Bateman, you bring up an interesting point, Engraven, with him saying that Zay Flowers is the number one receiver on this team.
Mm-hmm.
I see it less as like Rashad Bateman kind of like capitulating his contention to be that number one guy, and more as just like him buying into this team's scheme and Todd Monken's scheme. And I think that's more so like playing like a Raven. That's part of playing like a Raven. It's not necessarily all the field, like on the field stuff, but it's just the buy-in. You got to buy into the system and the scheme and the culture and what we're trying to do, and your opportunities will come. And, I think that that's something that him and Lamar have talked about a lot, probably over the offseason, maybe over the past couple of seasons. But it's good to see that this season he's getting the targets that he deserves. I definitely, maybe he can get one or two more, but I'm not going to complain about it, right? He's making the most out of what he's getting, and I think it's only a matter of time until we see like some X factor ability out of Rashad Bateman, because, we see like all the pretty route running that sits him down in like these wide open zones and things like that. But I'm looking for like a 50-50 ball, put him on the map. You know what I mean? I'm looking for like a deep ball, fight for it, get a touchdown, something like that. That's coming. That is on the way. It's on the horizon. If you're a Ravens fan listening right now, I can promise you, if he can stay healthy, I think that with these targets that he's getting from Lamar and the trust that he's building with Lamar Jackson as well. What did he have? 71 yards yesterday? Like you said, of 4 catches.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's going to keep going his way. I'm really happy to see what he's been doing, but I think the big plays will be coming very, very soon for him. Talking about, Zay Flowers a little bit more. Zay Flowers, I have been on record multiple times on this podcast, kind of slighting him a little bit here and there for different things, like because everybody knows the type of receiver that I've always wanted in Baltimore to be our number one guy. It's kind of like that, the big guy, 50-50 possession receiver, kind of reminiscent of Anquan Bolden, not to keep bringing up his name in 2024. You know what I mean? Everybody does it, I know. But Zay Flowers, time and time again, and, not even to my chagrin, I love it. He proves me wrong. When I think that he can't be the guy who goes out there and gets 9-10 catches for 100+ yards, he does. And it may not look the exact way that I may want it to look, but the guy, he just simply gets open, right? And like, he's so hard to guard. Like when they motion him inside, like a lot of times he'll be off in the X, right? They'll motion him inside to the slot and he'll come across the middle, and guys just simply cannot keep up with him. They cannot keep up with him, right? And he finds his open spot in the zone, and Lamar delivers it to him. And Lamar is taking exactly what the defense has been giving him, and it's been working wonders for this offense. And it's the reason why, me and Alex, we do a little sports betting here on this podcast, Engraven. And it's the reason why this year it has not been profitable at all to sports bet on player props for the Ravens, because it's just so week to week with who's getting the ball, who's going to have a good game. You just never know. With the tight ends, one week it could be Likely. The next week it could be Andrews. With the receivers, one week it could be Zay Flowers, 9 catches. The next week he has 1 catch. So you just really don't know. But it really goes to show like how they're spreading it around, how they're being multiple, and how they're staying unpredictable. So again, shout out to Todd Monken, like my guy Alex said.
Oh yeah, for sure. Lamar Jackson talked about picking your poison, and that's exactly how this Baltimore Ravens offense is. Probably the biggest consistencies with it have been obviously Lamar Jackson, because he's involved in everything, but also Derrick Henry as well. Just to back up real quick with what you were saying about Zay Flowers, like when you think about the Baltimore Ravens and their current wide receivers, most people would, when you think about, who's the route runner, they're going to go to Rashad Bateman. But Zay Flowers, hey, he ain't no slouch when it comes to route running either. But the thing that I really appreciate about him is you can tell that he has amazing conditioning, because just about, it seems like almost every play, Zay Flowers is in motion. And he's running full speed, all the time. Sometimes they'll do the jet sweeps to him. They'll do the screen. They'll involve Zay Flowers in so many different ways, but you won't never see him huffing and puffing. Oh, I can't be. Get me on the sideline or what. They'll of course take him out and whatnot to keep him a little fresher, but you don't never see this man exhausted, and he's running like full speed all the time in every single direction. Him making them cuts, him shaking people. He's amazing in a lot of different ways for the Baltimore Ravens, and I love the fact that a lot of times when they get him going, they keep giving it to him. They keep him going for the most part. I know in this last game, he had like, I think he got every catch in the first half, I believe, right? I think, and then the second half he was quiet, but then it's important to look at context with that. Why was he so quiet in the second half? Well, that's because the Ravens and Derrick Henry, they just took over, and Derrick Henry he helped run them to victory. So with Zay Flowers, he got so many good qualities. Yeah, he doesn't have the size of a prototypical number one wide receiver, but he does have so many other traits that those number one wide receivers have.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go back on Bateman real quick. That PI he drew on 3rd and 10 kind of sold it a bit, but that's what good wide receivers do. It's happened to us a lot where, it's like, that's not a PI, but if you sell it, that's what happens. And talking about Zay, he'll make those catches with somebody draped on him. They'll be on his side and Lamar might throw a little behind him. I think of the Bengals game, he made a great contested catch right over the middle, moved the chains, and he's been a chain mover. And I'm glad that we're utilizing him. It was the one they snap it to Lamar and little flip to Zay, and he takes it. And he just, even that first the first drive, like he had no reason to take that one pass for 40-some yards, but he did. He's explosive and he's a playmaker and kind of everything we've been missing in a receiver in a while. And I put a tweet out, he's a chosen one. And yeah, it's a first-round wide receiver I think we've hit on that, hasn't had just one good year. It's showing his second year now. I fully expect him to get over 1,000 yards. I said that before the season even started. Like on the pace he's on and the usage he's getting, Todd Monken is utilizing these guys very well. He knows their strengths and he's utilizing them to the fullest potential. And this is what we've been asking for the past couple of years. We haven't been trying to be spoiled Ravens fans. We want to see the most potential out of our players. We know Lamar can make every throw in the book. We know the outside the numbers. You know that, and we're seeing it. You see the charts every single Monday after we win. He's spreading it on every side of the field. We're using every single blade of grass, and that's why this offense is so hard to stop sometimes because you don't know where it's going to go. And we're mixing up with Derrick Henry now. We're not running it when Henry's on the field. He's going out for some passes, Justice Hill. And now we get Keaton Mitchell back soon, who I saw him on Friday at the Maryland game. He looks pretty good. He looks, health-wise, I haven't seen him practice, but body shape, body-wise, spirit-wise, he looks really, really good. So he'll be back soon. Another piece you got to worry about with this offense. And EBC kind of for one more thing, maybe another receiver, maybe a taller receiver X, make this offense even that better. But I'm just very, very happy and just feeling really good about this team offensively. Mainly offensively.
For sure. We got a super chat donation. This one's coming from Asmodeus. Donato's dropping the 2-piece in the chat, making it rain here on episode 271 of the Purple Rain podcast. Thank you so much, Asmodeus. Says for your protein shake and McChicken needs. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We appreciate that as always. I wanted to talk about, before we move on to, I guess we can talk about Derrick Henry in a little bit, but Mark Andrews, you kind of touched on it a few minutes ago, Alex. He got his first touchdown of the season. And this is after just so many struggles and so many just ugly spots, right? Drops and things like that throughout the season that have kind of just, oh man, it hasn't been the same Mark Andrews, right? To say the least. But to see him get that touchdown yesterday and to see how hype he was after that touchdown, it kind of told me like, okay, this touchdown means so much to him because he was waiting so long to get it, because I think in his head, he knows that he was not right after the car accident. I think, and my friend who I was watching the game with was telling me this yesterday, who's actually a Steelers fan. He was like, after you get into a car accident, things change. Like you can get shaken up, like really, and like things that take so much concentration, like catching the football on the professional level in a football game, that might wane just a little bit. You know what I mean? I think that he was dealing with some mental things, and it was just such a mental breakthrough for him to get that first touchdown. And you could just see it. Just how he got in Isaiah Likely's face and was just like everywhere. I was like, man, is he? You know what I mean? Like, what's gotten into Mark? But it was just so good to see. It made me so happy. But what is you guys' assessment on Mark Andrews?
Oh yeah, he had been MIA for a while when it came to getting in the end zone, and we got to remember like last year, he missed a big chunk of last year, and that's when Isaiah Likely was really taking over. And then with Mark Andrews, he came back for, I think, the AFC Championship game, but we really ain't hear from him in the AFC Championship game. So he had been missing from the end zone for a long time. And then, of course, this season, he unfortunately got into that accident, and that set him back. And so he had a slow start. So he did say something a couple of weeks ago. He talked about how he was being patient and that he knew that his time, it would come. And with Mark Andrews, he was really patient. obviously. And when you see somebody like literally from the very beginning of the season, how Isaiah Likely, he was just balling. In that Chiefs game, he was going crazy. And Mark Andrews, he was taking a back seat. And then we looked at snap counts from different games, and it still seemed like Mark Andrews was taking a back seat. So to be somebody that's so used to every single season, you and Lamar, y'all be going crazy together. You be putting up crazy numbers. You always in the end zone as a tight end. And you very, very productive to be in that. You got your name Mandrews. And now it's like you so used to hearing people say Mandrews, but now they haven't been saying anything. Oh, my video froze. Oh, that's annoying. But anyway, they haven't been saying anything. But to go from that to where he is now, it's humbling. It's very, very humbling. So the way that he addressed it, the way that he took care of everything, and the way that he's really just come on, especially these last two games, because it didn't just start this game, it was last game too, where he came up clutch in the fourth quarter for the Ravens. But in this game, for him to be back in the end zone, I know he was super, super happy, and we was all super, super happy for him too.
Yeah, we were. And like I said, I lost a lot of confidence when he, had the tip interception. I'm like, well, this kind of might be the writing on the wall for him. And bouncing back and having the confidence, the headspace to do all that, man, it was really good to see. Getting open as well on the sidelines and making some catches over the middle. Those Mandrews drag routes, man, that right there just takes me back because that's what he feasted on, go in the beginning of his career. And it was really good to see that. And hearing Bate talk after the game, he's like, I know how that feels not getting in the end zone for a while. And he was happy for him, and everybody was. And Cam says here, and Likely was the first one to go meet him in the end zone. Yeah, think about what he's learned from Likely. How much he's learned to make him that good of a tight end. So it's a nice family, a nice brotherhood that you see on this offense. And everybody's just happy for each other. When Bateman got his catch against the Cowboys, Zay Flowers, first one to hug him. Lamar there to hug him. And Kolari getting his, everybody's right there around him. Like that's kind of all the makings of a great team is the brotherhood they have and want to see each other win. And going back to your comment about Bateman, how Zay's the wide receiver one. Like we know that, and we know that the managers didn't score. Everybody else kind of showing that and showing that support. It does wonders for teams, and the chemistry on this offense is something different.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And then we got Engraven fixing the technical difficulty, so we'll give him a minute here. But yeah, man, I mean, I love that Mark Andrews, again, he had that mental breakthrough. I think that this can bode well for the rest of his season. Hopefully we see him start to build his confidence more and more, and we see less drops and more big catches like we are used to seeing with vintage Mandrews, because we're at the point now where, teams, I'm not going to say that teams aren't scheming for Mandrews, but I don't think they're doing it as much. They're kind of allocating resources to other areas of the field. And that's why you see Mark Andrews is just wide open, like just dumb open sometimes. So it's just, hopefully we can see him build on that confidence. But let me see if we can get Engraven back up here. I don't know if I think he's still getting it together. Okay, but yeah. We wanted to talk about Derrick Henry as well. Touch on him. 24 carries, 132 yards yesterday. Of course, really came on in the second half. Man, it's just having him as a weapon, and this being the first time that we're seeing a Ravens offense that does not have to have Lamar Jackson as the leading rusher. It is just it's so comforting. One, because we're not putting unnecessary miles on Lamar, especially early in the season. But just knowing that we have like that hammer, you know what I mean? Like late in games, I think it was the second Derrick Henry touchdown. And let me see if I can bring Graven back up here. What's going on? There he is. He's back. Looking good. But yeah, no, I was saying like with Derrick Henry, I think it was on that second touchdown, right? I think he made one cut. And Daniel Falele had a really nice block on that play as well. But, nobody really wanted to tackle Henry. Once he, got like a good step or two to the second level, nobody wanted to tackle him. And that is just like one of those, I think when the weather starts to get a lot colder, right, in the next couple of months, and we are in imposing this game plan and this run game on these defenses in the second half, I think we're going to see a lot more big Derrick Henry games. He's already headed for a historic season as is, right? So I think that he'll probably he can maybe average like 80, 90. By the time the season's over, 80, 90 yards a game, something like that, maybe even close to 100, approaching that, because the way that we're running him right now, again, is pick your poison. So if you don't go with Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson's going to come. He's going to get you. And if we don't have that, of course, we've got guys like Justice Hill. We've got guys like Isaiah Likely everywhere. everywhere is pick your poison. But just talking about Derrick Henry, Alex, what's been your most recent thoughts about the King on this team and how he's fit into our offense so far?
Kind of like Dre said, Titans knew what they were doing, not trading him to us last year. They knew. Uh, they knew exactly why they didn't want him to trade him here. And you think we have 6 carries in the postseason with Derrick Henry back there? Absolutely not. And
No.
a lot of people wrote him off after that first game. I
Mhm.
saw it on my timeline. Like he didn't, do a lot. Well, he's washed there. They're putting the Jerry Rice on the Seahawks meme, the Shaq on the Celtics meme. Like they're doing it to Derrick Henry. I'm like, hold up. Did you not see the line he was playing again with last year? Put up 1,000 yards behind that. Never had a quarterback next to him like Lamar, and that's with all due respect to Tannehill because he did beat us in 2019. I'll respect that, but after
Mhm.
that, like you put Lamar next to him, like you have to worry about him, and now all these other weapons, like it's just insane. I'm happy that we have this. We haven't had, like I said, this type of running back to me since like a Ray Rice maybe. Forsythe had a good years here, but it's Lamar Watt's the best running back he's ever played with, and it's showing you why. So it feels really good to have him here, and he's a guy that that on any given run he can break it for 30, 40, 50 yards, and that's what he did. Like we kind of felt in the crowd yesterday, like in that last drive, Henry's in, it's third and short. It's like, all right, well, what do you have here? You can stack the box, and like, nobody was worried. That sense of
Yeah.
just being worried is gone
Yeah.
because you know what you have behind Lamar. And I'm like, all right, so we're in shotgun now. So what are you gonna do? Because Lamar hasn't been taking many of these options. So if you want to sit here and commit to Henry, Lamar will just take that for 40 some yards like he did in the third quarter. And it's just been something that we haven't been able to see for a very long time, and it feels really nice to have on our side and not going against it.
It is because Lamar Jackson is an elite player. He's an elite player, and I feel
I
like
think you froze again, Engraven.
oh, I did. Okay, well, yeah. I get this point out, and then I try to fix it again. But
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson, he's an elite player, and I feel like probably the most other elite player that he's had alongside him it's probably been Mark Andrews. But other than that, I feel like he's had some good players around him, but just not elite. And when you think about the Baltimore Ravens, you could think easily, oh yeah, they were one of the top rushing teams for years, especially under Lamar Jackson. So any running back could have success back there. And a lot of different running backs have had success next to Lamar Jackson simply because of the threat that he poses if he is getting ready to take off. But you see what happens when you have an elite player next to Lamar Jackson. It allows him to be even better than he already was. Because Derrick Henry came in and he's made the lives of so many Baltimore Ravens players and coaches so much easier because of everything that he's able to do. Simply, you were just talking about it. Like they would have so many people in the box. So you knew the run was coming, especially toward the end of the game, but they still couldn't stop it. They still didn't stop. They knew it was going to Derrick Henry. He was in the game. They knew the Ravens was about to run him, but they still could not get the job done. And you even mentioned it earlier how I know suddenly you were just talking about it when the weather gets a little colder soon. Oh, that's tough. Because Derrick Henry a couple of weeks ago, I think he knocked somebody out with his thighs. I'm like, man, that's tough.
Yeah.
And he's just such a powerful, large human being. I don't even know if he's a human being, but he's a cheat code. Like Jamar Chase said, it's cheating. It's cheating. Him and Lamar Jackson lined up next to each other. It's just not fair. But I do love that the Baltimore Ravens, with Derrick Henry, you mentioned like Todd Monken, he's been calling some really good stuff. I like how the Baltimore Ravens, it's obvious we know Derrick Henry is powerful. It's obvious we know Derrick Henry's a closer. It's obvious we know Derrick Henry can get the job done. But the Ravens, they haven't been ignoring the obvious. A lot of times in years past, they had. But with Derrick Henry, they have not been ignoring the obvious. It's like, hey, we got Derrick Henry. We're going to use him and we're going to feed him.
Yeah. Man, he's been so good for us. Alex, you have something else for us?
No, I was saying Graven got me fired up talking about it. Thinking I was, we just watched the game and I'm already fired up thinking about next week. But while we're talking about offense and how good that is, you want to switch to the defense real quick?
I think it's about time for us to go ahead and switch over to the defense, and then Graven will pop back in. But I mean, the offenses look so good, right? I mean, and that's just been that's why excuse me, that's why I've gotten so much confidence in this team in the past 4 weeks, in the past month, because just this offense has just been clicking. Todd Monken really feels like he's kind of gotten his rhythm. He's in his groove now as an offensive coordinator for this season, and we're rolling, and we're rolling with the run game, and that's what we've always been known for. But it just took a couple of weeks this year to kind of find our identity and really what we wanted to do, how we wanted to utilize this new look Ravens offense. Because let's face it, even though there's only an addition of one player, and of course, there's a new look to the offensive line, relatively speaking, but there's a new look when you added Derrick Henry into the offense. Like you have to change the way you play. You can't just give him the same amount of carries as you would have given like a Gus Edwards or somebody like that last season. You just can't do that.
Right.
So yeah, offense has been rolling, but flipping over to the defense, which is kind of like just the thorn in our side right now, and specifically speaking, the passing defense. You know, the
Yeah.
run defense has been stellar, first in the league. You just flat out cannot run the ball against the Baltimore Ravens. It doesn't work. It's not going to happen. Not to say it will never happen this season, but just up to this point, they've been pretty stout in that department. But on the back end, we have been lacking. And Alex, I want to toss it over to you first. I want you to kind of get your feelings out about this. When you were watching that game yesterday, and of course we're going against a talented rookie on a hot team.
Yeah.
And they were just kind of getting what they wanted through the air. What did you think about all that?
Before I talk about that, I do want to say Jaden Daniels, I thought, played a very good game. I think he only had one bad pass, and that was the one Ardarius should have picked off. I was very impressed with him. He was very, very good. I'm happy for the Commanders fans. You know, they have something to be happy and cheerful about, and it showed with the amount of fans at the stadium yesterday. The tailgate was good. It was honestly very respectful. Outside of what you saw on social media, but contrary to that, both sides were having a good time. But talking about this defense, I'm looking at some of the highest paid guys, and I'm looking at Marcus Williams, I'm looking at Roquan, because Zach Ertz was having his way with us. And I was saying in the stands, like, Zach Ertz in 2024, like, this is crazy, like, he is sitting here, he's feasting over the middle, and Roquan's he's so close, but yet so far away. And then for the Terry McLaurin touchdown, I'm looking at Marcus Williams, and I don't think it was his man. I'll have to, go back and look at it. It was just disappointing to see. It's like it feels like we're making the right place, wrong time, basically. And the wrong time is just, a second, and that makes a difference. And it's hard, having this defense come on the field and not being that confident in them. Because as Ravens fans, we're not used to that. We were a triple crown defense last year, shutting out the best of players, We held the Chiefs to 0 points in the second half. The Super Bowl champions. And now it's like, they get on the field, and I'm kind of expecting 3 at minimum. And, maybe I'm a little overreacting, but the bend don't break definitely was in full effect yesterday of the DMP's defenses of those Ravens in years past, and that was a little worrying. But this defense has got to step it up. We have the talent, we have the guys. It's now up to the personnel to really get this going.
Oh yeah, I see some people in the wow, we froze again. I might have to make this point and then just cool. Let it be. But
it's all good. Yeah.
I see some people in the comment section that use the same word. When you talked about the defense, they said unacceptable, specifically with the secondary. And it has been. It has been. And no, simply, I don't think you're overreacting at all. The defense has just been, it's been bad. It's been really bad. And you see, we are glad that the offense, they've been doing what they've been doing because had it not been for the offense, then, yeah, our record would not be looking the way that it's looking right now. But safety play, I did see some stuff sort of trending in the right direction a bit because I do like how, because before it would be our deep safeties would be Marcus Williams and Eddie Jackson. I'm not sure what's been happening with Eddie Jackson. I mean, I know Marcus Williams been struggling too, but I do like how yesterday they were like, all right, you know what? Let's try Ardarius Washington out there. And Ardarius Washington, stuff looked a lot better, in my opinion, when Ardarius Washington was out there at deep safety. It would have been even better if he would have caught that pick, but it is what it is. As long as the receiver ain't catching the ball, then that's what matters most. Roquan Smith, I don't know what's been going on with him, man. I don't know what's been going on with him overall. Yesterday, he did make up, I think, in my opinion, probably his best play of the year when Jaden Daniels was scrambling and Roquan was running at him full speed. And Jaden Daniels, he did a little move, but Roquan ain't bite on it, and then he pushed him out of bounds. And it wasn't the sexiest play. It wasn't like it was a big tackle or sack, anything like that. But just watching Roquan Smith one-on-one with Jaden Daniels in open field, like, obviously that win will go to Jaden Daniels every time, but it didn't yesterday. So that was nice to see him. But he's been struggling a lot, too, covering the middle of the field. I'm not sure if it's him maybe being a tad bit out of shape, or I don't know if it's maybe Zach or him learning the new Zach or defense, or if it's just I don't know what it is. But Roquan has certainly been struggling. and really just the defense as a whole. I think one of the biggest things that's been an issue with the defense has been not putting players in positions to have success. We've seen that with Malik Harrison a lot. I know he didn't play yesterday, but we saw that with Malik Harrison a lot over the previous weeks, to where he was out there in pass coverage, and it was like, no, that's not where he needs to be. That's not one of his specialties. So there will be a lot of exposure happening to a lot of different guys. Thinking of Brandon Stevens. Brandon Stevens is such a tricky player because he's never getting burnt. He's never getting beat. He's always right there with his wide receiver every time, but he just doesn't. He's struggling to make a play on the ball. Last year, I don't know what happened. Last year he was killing it. Last year was amazing, but then this year it's just he's been struggling with that. So I feel like it's not necessarily an easy fix for Brandon Stevens, but it's a fix where it's a coaching thing. You gotta coach him on getting his head turned around and just making more plays on the ball. And then he could be a really good corner if he can fix that. But that is something that can be really, really tough to fix because it's a tendency. So if you can't break that tendency, then I don't know what to say. And then with Nate Wiggins really, really sticky in coverage. I think he probably been chilling with Marlon Humphrey a little too much, getting a little grabby, getting a little filly and whatnot. But Nate Wiggins, he's pretty good. But I think the biggest issue with the Baltimore Ravens defense as a whole, I think it's a schematic issue. I think it's got to do with the scheme. I think it's got to do with that. A lot, obviously, execution is a big part of it. But when you think about it, like Ravens got a lot of special players all across the board on defense, on every single level of defense. They have special players. So it to me, it's got to be the scheme.
Yeah, I agree. Alex?
I do agree. And you bring up special players. I think we're seeing one emerge in Travis Jones. I think you have got to extend him before it's too late, and he has Justin Madubuike here because he had his first sack yesterday, but he does so much, outside of those numbers, stuffs the line, how to tackle for loss. And now we talk about secondary. Brandon Stevens last year, I was saying he should have been a Pro Bowler. I said he was snubbed, and I thought he was. And this year, he's not getting beat. He was on Terry McLaurin for that second touchdown, but great ball, didn't turn around. Maybe if he turns around, maybe he can get his hand on it. Maybe he can, do something a little different. But it was bad, and it's just, you don't know what you're going to get with him. You don't, and it's really annoying. And then, obviously I said Roquan and Marcus Williams, that right there is 170 mil. And if you're a Ravens, front office exec, are you going to extend Brandon Stevens next year? Depending when he wants to make. We got Nate Wiggins. We got a first-round corner that can step in now. It's going to make a tough decision. It might be easy for them if he keeps playing this way. So I hope he turns it around. And I'm going to, put a little bit of it to Lewis and Denard Wilson. Fantastic secondary coach. He went to Tennessee, not our DC. When you lose, those type of coaches, man, it's hard to gain from that. And I see Craven with the super chat. Appreciate Rain Gang. Sorry for technically difficult. No, thank you for coming through. It's always great to talk to you. Love that intelligent ball conversation. Yeah, man. Thank you, and we really truly appreciate you. It means the world.
Absolutely, man. Appreciate dropping the 20 piece in the chat, making it rain here on episode 271 of the Purple Rain podcast. Engraven pulling up from deep. Shout out to Engraven, man. Always appreciate the ball talk. Yeah, exactly. As we have about 300 people watching live right now, welcome to the Purple Rain podcast. Hello for everybody watching on X. Hello to everybody watching on YouTube as well. If you're on X, maybe try to migrate over to YouTube. Hit the subscribe button as well. We just surpassed 4,000 on here. We expect to get a lot more in the future if we post more content. So big shout out to everybody who's been supporting us for as long as we've been doing this, man. And we don't plan on stopping. So make sure you stay tuned to the Purple Rain podcast YouTube channel. But again, thanks so much to Engraven Videos. Again, so you mentioned the DBs, and that's another big thing for me is what Brandon Stevens, I think Harbaugh talked about it yesterday at the press conference after the game. We run a lot of single high safety, which means that we're not protecting our outside corners all that often. Oftentimes, they're on an island. Brandon Stevens is on an island, and a lot of times he's matched up against the other team's top guy. And we've seen him up against the likes of CeeDee Lamb this year, Devontae Adams this year. Keon Coleman gave him work, even though I know he's not like one of the top guys just yet. Jamar Chase. I mean, the list goes on and on, right? And we've seen him get burned on that back shoulder fade a couple of times, and it seems like he's always right there, but just can't really get the head around. And I think that you bring up a fabulous point in the fact that, losing Denard Wilson, and Graven talked about it, it's a coaching thing. You got to coach guys out of those type of tendencies, right? Not getting their head around. So you can't make a play on the ball. I think Denard Wilson, he played a big part in that, and I think we're missing him. And if you look at the Titans secondary right now, they are actually holding up pretty well. So
Yeah.
It's just coaching. It goes to show that like coaching it's a behind the scenes thing. Of course, you don't see these guys on the field, but they do mean a lot, and I think that, of course, the biggest coaching loss would be the one of Mike McDonald leaving to go be the head coach of the Seattle Seahawks. But Denard Wilson is one that I think a lot of people are sleeping on, because I think it's the reason why the Ravens have been struggling on the back end and the secondary. But yeah, when it comes to Brandon Stevens, I want to talk about the specific play in the fourth quarter when the Commanders were trying to come back into the game, right? It was fourth and I think 2 or whatever, or it might have been fourth and goal at that point. And
Fourth and goal.
yeah, you get the fade ball from Jaden Daniels to Terry McLaurin. Perfect football, might I add. I mean, Jaden Daniels, he is a dude. He showed me something yesterday. Uh, he's the future, I think, of the NFC. I can go out on a limb and say that with confidence right now. Jaden Daniels, I think, is the future of the NFC because he does not have any visible weaknesses to me that I saw yesterday. Maybe he held the ball for a touch too long on a couple of different plays and things like that, but
Yeah.
he's showing a lot of promise so far. But yeah, go ahead.
The one thing I'll say, he's really fixed up taking hits. I remember watching him at LSU. He was taking a lot of bad hits. He took one bad one yesterday at the goal line.
Yeah.
But outside of that, like you said, there's very little weaknesses, and the Commanders fans, it's kind of understandable why they're so hyped about this guy because he is a good quarterback, and they do have some guys around him, and they have a lot of cap space next year. So if I'm them, they're kind of following that Houston Texans route. They had a lot of cap space this year. They made a lot of signings, trading for Stephon Diggs. They're next. That's why they're in the sweepstakes for Devontae Adams. They have this money, they can afford him. So that was good to see. I mean, for them, but yeah, like you bring up Denard Wilson.
Alex,
like I remember us getting him.
One thing I just want to just finish my point about the. I'm sorry, I totally forgot about it. The point about that touchdown play, the Terry McLaurin touchdown, really quick.
Yeah.
I just thought that Brandon Stevens should have gotten his hands and been a lot more physical with Terry McLaurin on that play to throw off the timing. Because if you watch the play starts at the 7-yard line, right? And I think it was fourth and goal. It was fourth and goal. Play starts at the 7-yard line. So that means he has 5 yards. He has all the way to the 2 to be physical with Terry McLaurin. He did not get one finger on Terry McLaurin, and he just walked right around him. He sold the inside. Brandon Stevens bit on it, and he went back out to the outside. The ball was right there on time, perfect placement and everything. If you disrupt the timing of that by just a couple of milliseconds, that throw can't happen. You know what I mean? So it's just like little things like that, again, you bring up the point about Denard Wilson. You got to coach these guys out of that. There's been a lot of confusion in our secondary pre-snap, and it's just been totally
timeouts.
It's been frustrating. Exactly, timeouts, things like that. But I didn't mean to cut into your point. You can go ahead, finish what you were going to say. My bad.
No, you're good. Yeah, I was going to say he was supposed to be a DC last year before we got him, and now he's a DC this year. It happened 1 year too late, but I was surprised we even got him. And Dre says here, I might be doing too much with this, but at times I feel like our pass rush can get stale. At times forcing DBs to cover. Yes, because why do you think we brought a cover 0 on 4th and 10, on possibly 4th in the game? Brought a cover 0. Nate Wiggins left on the island, had to defend him too long. Ends up committing a PI, first down for them. This is 100% a factual statement. It can get stale, And I'm looking at guys like I want to see more from Ajabo. Elway, he showed us something early, and you see more from you. Don't want to see the inconsistency. Yannick Ngakoue was big with his sack yesterday. He's actually he's wrecked some havoc in his limited amount of time, and it's good to see. He'll be on the active roster really soon, and as he deserves it, because he's shown more than some guys on this team. Adisa Isaac, who is a rookie and who kind of hasn't had his time defensively, but this isn't a team where you can develop. Like we need to see action now. So it is frustrating how this pass rush can get stale, and it leaves our corners to defend longer. And hopefully we'll come back soon. Harbaugh talked about it today because we can really use him, especially as a blitzing DB. He had a couple of sacks last year, and his presence will be felt when he's back on this defense.
Absolutely. But yeah, I mean, I hadn't thought about that, Dre. I mean, the fact that the pass rush does get stale in the second half. I mean, I wasn't thinking that yesterday because again, I didn't ever really feel like the Ravens were in real danger of losing that game. I felt like we had pretty good control over it. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It does seem like at a certain time, especially in, late third quarter and then throughout all the fourth quarter, the pass rush is just non-existent. We're sending four, we're sending five, and we just cannot get a good enough pressure to kind of throw the quarterback off of his spot, at least consistently. So hopefully the defense, man, really it comes around. I have faith because we are the Ravens organization. Like we're known for defense. We're not going to be bad on defense, but for so long. Like if it was the other way around and the offense was struggling this way, I would say like, okay, this season might be a wash. You know what I mean? Like if we can't put up points, you know what I mean? Like it's just
Yeah.
we can't do anything, but I think that the defense will
Right.
come around. I think with Dean Pease kind of being that senior advisor for the next couple of weeks, we start to maybe see a little bit more balance between Zach Orr's plan and kind of like the wisdom of Dean Pease and whatever he wants to incorporate in the defense as well. We'll see. We'll see. But
Yeah.
it's got to get better. It's got to improve. That's all we know.
Yeah. And my final point, I just don't want this to be, well, imagine if the Ravens had their 2024 offense, the 2023 defense. I don't want to think about that. I want this
Yeah.
defense to get this shit together right. Part of my language, because I see it too many times. Imagine if we had this offense from this team and this defense from this team, and it's years apart. I don't want that. Like I want the full thing together. We have the talent. We have all pros in every level. We have Matabike, Roquan, got to step it up. Kyle Hamilton, how we've had a former Pro Bowler, Marcus Williams, got to step it up. Marlon, like these guys have got to step it up because,
Yeah.
put it together and become a fantastic team, which, we're already a good team, but take the next step. And, when you hear Lamar talk, he knows we have that next gear, that we can be even better. So, that definitely is something that I want to see. And Garnett says here, huge positive, Travis Jones. Yes, I am going to freaking change my name to hashtag extend Travis Jones before that price is out of our ballpark and we lose another talented player on a contract year, breakout year, like we've seen so many times with these Baltimore Ravens. You can go down a whole list of defensive players who have their breakout year in year 4 or 5, outprice themselves out of Baltimore, don't see him again. Extend him before it's too late.
Yeah, agree. Yeah, and there's been struggles in a couple of different areas, like you said. Roquan Smith, Marcus Williams is another name that has been brought up a lot, and he's been struggling a lot. He gave up that touchdown against the Commanders yesterday. I think it was the Terry McLaurin back at the end zone one where he just kind of gets frozen a little bit by Jaden Daniels, and it's just like, come on, man. We signed him to a pretty hefty contract, so the ROI on that is for it to be as trash as it is right now. I mean, it's
Yeah.
that's definitely a stain on our roster right now. So hopefully Marcus Williams can turn it around, and guys like Roquan Smith and the like. But all right, Alex,
Before we
let's
move on,
go
real
ahead.
quick,
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
Mr. Ronnie Stanley, I owe you an apology. You bet on yourself.
O-line, yeah.
You gave money back. You altered your contract to like a 1-year deal, lost money, converted into bonuses, and you're playing like an all-pro tackle. You are, a crucial part of this offense, protecting Lamar's blind side. That's why he's throwing for over 300, for in games like this. He's getting protection for the most part. And he's able to make those throws. So I just want to give a shout out to him because he's played lights out this year.
Yeah. And honestly, the offensive line in general, I don't really have too many gripes. Of course, there were certain spots where some guys got blown up. I saw Rosengarten get bull rushed badly a couple times, but overall, I think that this offensive line is really starting to gel and kind of come into their own. And we had Voorhees back, but I think it was still Makari at left guard, no? Or I can't remember.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. It was still Makari at left guard. So I think that Harbaugh, he said last week, it's going to be hard to kind of like rotate guys in and out when they think they finally found, their lineup that they want, right? Like they kind of want that to gel and kind of, that sort of thing. But shout out to the offensive line. Shout out to the offense just in general as a whole. You bring up Ronnie Stanley. He's been a stud this season. The defense, we've got all the pieces on the defense. So like Engraven said a couple of minutes ago, it's a schematic thing, and I think that's a big reason why Zach Orr and Harbaugh thought it was a good idea to bring in Dean Pease and It's something that can be fixed. That's the silver lining in it all, because I have all confidence that the Ravens can turn it around on defense, especially going into these colder weather months. And I'm thinking about that more and more. Like when it gets cold outside, and it's starting to get a little bit cold. Like I'm walking outside in the mornings now, and I can see my breath, and I know like winter is coming, right? In my Game of Thrones voice.
Yeah.
Like it's gonna be so interesting to see how this Derrick Henry led offense, like how it affects defenses in that cold weather, third, fourth quarter. You know what I mean? Like guys are just breathing hard as heck. You can see their breath on the
Yep.
broadcast, and like you just see Derrick Henry coming up the middle. They're just trying to chase after him. Of course,
Yeah.
once he gets once he gets parallel with defenders, he's gone. If he's even, he's leaving. He's one of those, like a receiver. But it's just gonna be wild to see like guys just bounce off him, because when it gets cold like that, those body parts, those extremities, those hits, they become harder, but they feel harder,
Yep.
right? More dense. Yeah, I think there's gonna be a lot more business decisions being made in the next couple of months here, and I cannot wait to see it. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. And just my final thought of the game.
Mhm.
If you're a ball player, no matter where you are put, you make plays. Mr. Ben Cleveland, you're doing everything you are being asked of. I want to know how it felt for Harbaugh to sit here and try to talk about, what he did blocking that kick. He has given no chances on the offensive line when we've been calling for his name. Okay, put him on the field goal block team. Blocks a field goal. That would have been 17-13, I think, at half. Blocking that field goal was huge. We get a lot of momentum going into the second half. They are getting the ball first. Ben Cleveland, I see you. I see you. You're making plays even when you aren't given the right chance. So that was good to see. That was really good to see from him.
Yeah, I mean, Ben Cleveland, a guy who really hasn't gotten, I wouldn't say his fair shake, because you never know what's been going on at practice and whatnot throughout the years, but a guy who's just never had like stability at a position like on this offensive line. For him to be just kind of put anywhere, and for him to still like make plays, that's huge. That's got to be really good for his confidence. It's got to be good for the relationship between him and John Harbaugh as well, because I mean you're literally putting him on special teams. Like, hey, go try to block this kick, and he does. Like you gotta afford him some more opportunities after that, I think. So good to see from Ben Cleveland. Overall, a good win from the Ravens yesterday. I mean, just efficient. I think Lamar Jackson, if you look at his performance, I think it was 20 for 26, I want to say, or something like that. 323 yards, one touchdown, one interception. The interception could have been a little bit better of a throw, but at the same time, it did go right through Mark Andrews' hands. So I kind of put the blame 50-50 there. But no, just an efficient game from Lamar. Ran for what, 30, 40 something yards? Or how many yards did Lamar run for yesterday?
Yeah, 44. I think it was 40-some yards. He broke off a 41-yard run and a couple other runs. Yeah, over 40.
So overall, just a good team win. Looking forward to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Tampa on, I believe it is Sunday Night Football next week,
Monday.
right? Oh, it's Monday Night
night
Football.
with Joe and Troy.
Got it. Cool. So about 7 days from this moment, we will be facing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That is going to be very interesting. Who just put up 52 points yesterday. Had just something to prove going up against the Saints, their rival. I mean, Baker Mayfield has been looking like he's in contention for MVP as well. I mean, I'd love to know what his odds are right now, but I think he leads the league in touchdowns for quarterbacks. So it'll be interesting to see this Ravens team go back up against him next week, and with him with his new team that is kind of his team now, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Baker's Bucks is definitely an interesting watch. So that's gonna be a good game. A couple other divisional games after that. So the schedule, I wouldn't say is necessarily getting a lot harder than it's been, but I don't think it's necessarily getting any easier than it's been either.
No.
I'm looking at that Browns game after the Bucks, and that one I've kind of got that one circled. I've kind of got my eye on that one in Cleveland. They're gonna want to prove something to us. They're gonna want to spoil. I mean, their season's pretty much a wash at this point. 1-4, 1-5, something like that. They're gonna be wanting to play spoiler, yeah. And so I'm looking at that game. But Alex, what are you thinking for the future of this team?
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Bucks, Browns, Broncos, Bengals, Steelers. You win 4 out of the next 5. I think you're a lock for the playoffs. And I know it's early, but if you win all your division games right there, you're 4-0 in the division. You're in a great spot to win your division. And I still am expecting progression. I don't think we're going to be the 1 seed, but you put yourself in a really good spot leading into these colder games when you're getting a guy like Keaton Mitchell back. Who knows what we do at the trade deadline. I'm hoping we are aggressive because we have a ton of comp picks next year. EDC do not be cheap. If you want to build a Super Bowl winning team, you go and get your guys now. And, I think, obviously that Browns game, they're going to want to make a statement. They always, we're their Super Bowl. They hate us. We took their team. They don't like us, and we get it. We don't like you guys either. You're the annoying little brother who, is keep on punching our leg, get off of us. And I hope we go there and make a statement. I hope we make the statement. But, I can't look too far. You got the Bucs next Monday, who look like a very, very good team. Don does say, Baker did have 3 interceptions yesterday, and the turning point of that game is the Saints not being able to tackle Chris Godwin. He took a simple pass that should have been just a first down into a touchdown, and that kind of ruined their hopes, ruined their spirits. So this Ravens defense can't do that. Got to cover them up, and I'm expecting them to have a lot of points, the same way I was expecting the Bills to score against us, and I hope it's the same result. We go in there, and game's over by the third quarter. So I don't think it'll be that. I think it'll be a closer game, but we've been pretty good against Baker Mayfield. Let's hope we can, keep him shut. But do you want to do a little bit of around the league right now?
Yeah. Since you already kicked it off, talking about the Bucs and the Saints. The Bucs are a good team. I think it's going to be a good watch next week, but I do believe that the Ravens run train keeps going in Tampa Bay, and I'm not going to get into any early score predictions or anything like that. It should be a good game. It's on prime time, but I think it's going to be a big Derrick Henry game. But let's talk about a couple of games that happened yesterday. So across the pond, you had the Jaguars facing the Chicago Bears, and this was a game. I believe if I remember correctly in the picks last week, I picked the Bears to win.
Yeah,
I think you picked the Jags to win.
I did.
Yeah, and I was thinking, well, what does Alex see in the Jags? Is Trevor Lawrence, the Bears defense has been good. Caleb Williams has been getting better. And I think that Caleb Williams showed it yesterday, right?
Yep. I'll tell you what I saw. I just saw this is a Jaguars second home. I thought that, they played a little bit better. In London, they're a better team. It's weird, they get an attribute boost in London. They play better over there, and it simply wasn't there. Granted, there was dropped touchdowns, but they're a team in dismay. And if I'm the Ravens, I'm maybe looking at a team like the Jags. Is there anybody we can pick off their team? And I don't know where that could be. And I don't see any receivers really making a big impact on this team. But maybe there's somebody offensive line we like or defensive line. Who knows? So it's time to look at those teams like that. See who you want. But yeah, that was a really poor showing from them. Caleb Williams looked really good. Keenan Allen looking good. They're kind of turning into what we thought they should be. And it's that now. So yeah, Trevor is completely overpaid. They kind of that I don't get that. So that's why the generational term has to be chilled out, thrown around so much. Because when he came out, they were calling this he's only lost 1 game in his college career. It was to the 2019 LSU Tigers, and that always doesn't translate over to the NFL. Chill with that. Stop putting these expectations on these guys.
Yeah, I agree. That's a really good point. Not all these guys can be generational talents. You know what I mean? You have, they honestly they kind of slap that moniker on everybody. All the number 1 picks that are coming out, for as long as I can remember, Trevor Lawrence, some of them were even saying about Bryce Young, when he comes out, he's going to be this and that. And look where we're at with that. So yeah, I do agree with you. I think we got to kind of pump the brakes on the whole, he's generational this, he's generational that. Now, on the other side of the coin, Caleb Williams, I think that he's kind of coming into his own. He's getting a little bit more comfortable, and the offense is slowing down for him. The game is slowing down for him, seemingly, and he's getting his guys more involved. Keenan Allen, Cole Kmet had a big day, 2 touchdowns for him. So big shout out to the Bears. I think that I want to see them do well. I like Caleb Williams. He is from the DMV as well, so I do want to see him do good. So. But then there was some other games as well. Alex, what were some other games that jumped out to you? I don't want to take up all the space here.
Ooh, Oh, what other games were there? America's Game of the Week. America's Game of the Week. The Lions and them boys.
Yeah.
Talking about overpaid. Mind you, the Cowboys couldn't afford to pay Derrick Henry. But boy, they had the money to throw at Dak Prescott. Give him all this money. How he had them strapped. How if he becomes a free agent, they're going to regret paying him. And Dak, we know Dak. September Dak, top 5 quarterback in the league. But as that months go on, you know who he is. You have CeeDee Lamb. And it's funny because I think a big part of their offense is having no run game. When there was a plethora, and I cannot say this even louder, a plethora of good running backs on that free agent market this past year, and you, Jerry Jones, did not want to sign one. You did not want to sign one. So you let Derrick Henry come to us. Saquon goes to Philly, and it obviously wasn't a rivalry thing because he went from New York to Philly. Could have went from New York to Dallas. Didn't want that. Could have re-signed Tony Pollard. Didn't want that. Josh Jacobs was out there. Didn't want that. All these guys. J.K. Dobbins, I thought would have been a fantastic signing for the Dallas Cowboys. Didn't want that. No, we're going to re-sign Ezekiel Elliott back because he showed so much with the Patriots. Jerry Jones, you deserve this.
Goes to show. Yeah, I'm about to say it goes to show. And by the way, shout out to Lunch Break Hot Take who's in the building. What's going on, fellas? Appreciate y'all for coming through.
Thank you.
Yeah, but I think it definitely comes down to Jerry Jones and kind of just like his owner / GM / probably pseudo coach philosophy. He wants to have his hand in all the pots in Dallas, and it just hasn't panned out at all over the past 30 years, over the past 3 decades. No NFC championship games, none, and you're not doing anything different. Like, I thought that going into the offseason, the Cowboys needed kind of like a makeover, for lack of better words. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That means you go out and you get a Derrick Henry. You go out and you get, even if it's a J.K. Dobbins, even if it's a Josh Jacobs, just somebody, one of these guys, right, who you can kind of look to just philosophy-wise, like, okay, this is a new weapon, right? And let me start saying that weapon. They needed a legit weapon, and I think getting an Ezekiel Elliott was kind of disingenuous if they truly want to pursue a Super Bowl, a championship, because Ezekiel Elliott, he's not going to be the difference between you winning or losing a championship. You're not getting to a championship. You're not sniffing it with an Ezekiel Elliott at this point in his career. And like you said, he didn't show you anything with the Patriots to kind of tell you that he would be even better with the Cowboys. Jerry Jones' famous quote, you never, make a move or basically acquire a free agent based off of what this guy was doing. You acquire him based off of what you think he can become in the future. And that's totally contradictory to them, picking up Ezekiel Elliott, especially at this point in his career. And Dre says here they could have got JK, they could have got a lot of guys, right? But they decided to kind of keep it stale, and they look stale right now. So yeah, man. And then also definitely want to prayers up to Aiden Hutchinson, who I believe
that was bad.
Yeah, I think he broke his tibia yesterday in that game. So he's going to be out for the remainder of the season, more than likely, and speedy recovery for him, because that dude is an absolute stud, man. I mean, he lives up to the draft pick that he got. Yeah,
he definitely was on his way to a good defensive player of the year conversation. Was like a 7th sack. He actually got on that play where he fractured it, and then he had to get emergency surgery. You hear that, and it's like, it's bad in the air cast.
It's bad.
Hope it's very speedy recovery. And talk about the Lions. Dan Campbell, he definitely remembered everything they did last year with the whole ineligible man, because he's sending Dan Skipper out there on routes, running hook and ladders with Penei Sewell. Like, Dan Campbell is petty, and I just want him to know that when it comes back and gets you, because you're always going to get hit with that same thing back, don't get upset. But seeing it yesterday, it was pretty funny. They had no sense of respect for them or no disregard for the Cowboys. They look really, really good. Jameson Williams making plays. Jared Goff looking good. So they're definitely one of the teams to beat in the NFC, but the loss of Aiden Hutchinson cannot be talked about enough. I saw they're in the market for some edge rushers. Wouldn't be surprised to trade for Zadarius Smith from the Browns. I don't think he's on that big of a contract. He makes a lot of sense. Like a 1-year rental, goes to the Lions, helps them out with their pass rush. But that was – I remember it was like 14-9, and I see it's like 30-something to 9. I'm like, wow, like this is – Cowboys let this one go. Another game I want to talk about,
Mhm.
Our good old rivals, our friends, Raiders and the Steelers. We talked about it. Put up 30 points. Justin Fields, 2 touchdowns. Najee Harris scored a touchdown.
Yeah, look good.
I went outside. There must have been a rainbow out there. They aren't really that common anymore. Najee Harris touchdowns.
Yeah.
Good for him, I guess.
I mean,
Cool.
over
To me,
100
he's a
yards
glorified
rushing too.
fullback at this point. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't expecting that from Najee. So if you took the Najee over, you're feeling good today. Did you watch that game, or did you have anything to take away from the Steelers' performance against the same Raiders who we lost to?
Yeah, so I caught the first half of that game. I was actually at my friend's house watching the Ravens and Commanders game. My friend is actually a Steelers fan, like diehard Steelers fan. So shout out to my guy Mike, by the way. But we were watching that Steelers game, and I asked him straight up. I was like, "Is Najee Harris good?" And like his immediate answer was like, "No, like he's not good. He's slow, slow feet. He's not like explosive things, like yada yada yada." But it was so ironic because as soon as he was saying that, like, here goes Najee Harris like bursting up the middle for like a 15-yard gain where he's like dragging defenders and whatnot. And it's just like, oh, well, I take back what I just said. But
Yeah.
the Steelers, man, it's they're gonna have to get a lot more consistent on offense if they want to be looked at as like serious contenders in this season. I know we have the same record; we're tied for first in the division with them. Boz, I don't know if you're listening right now, but y'all got to get it together on offense, man. And I know our defense is not really like the most stout right now. It's kind of like halfway there. Of course, we can stop the run, we can't stop the pass, but we can put up points, damn it. We saw against the Cincinnati Bengals, like even if you're going to put up points against us, our offense is just going to walk you down, you know? So, yeah, if I'm a Steelers fan, I don't know exactly what needs to be done on offense in order for them to start producing more points, but it needs to be done and quickly.
Yeah. Good points. Yeah, it was a lot of their, they were getting turnovers at the best times possible. It was a good win for them. Fields was, doing what he had to do to win a game, and that's, what you have to do in the NFL. So you're 4-2. You're looking really good now, record wise, and can only hope to improve on that. Any other games, that really stood out to you yesterday?
So the Bengals kind of squeaking by the Giants, quiet as kept. I think that was another one where it could have gotten really, really ugly in Cincinnati had that game gone a different way. And I mean, this is the Malik Neighborless Giants as well. And I think without Kayvon Thibodeau and I think missing a couple of other guys too. Um, so for the Giants to keep it that close with the Bengals, it's just the Bengals who are just so good. It's just not their record. The record's bad, but on paper they're so good. They got the personnel here, there, everywhere, right? But the Giants were hanging tough with them, and I don't know if I'm a Bengals fan. I am very, very concerned right now. Losing that game last week to Baltimore, that was a heartbreaker. I mean, it's a divisional game that you really thought that you had it, and it was right there. You had it, but let us off the hook. We took that one, and that's a divisional game, so that's crushing. And then to go and just kind of go neck and neck, pretty much. I mean, they had a late touchdown that really broke it open for them in the fourth quarter. The Bengals did, but man, what are your thoughts on the Bengals right now? Concern level?
I think this is purely speculation. I think there's a bit of a discontent with Jamar Chase. He hasn't been paid, right?
No, not yet. Not yet.
Yeah. T. Higgins hasn't been paid. And I see Bengals fans calling for Zach Taylor, calling for Lou Anarumo. And it feels eerily similar to when they had, AJ Green, Marvin Lewis. Like, they have the talent, and they're just not getting it done. And this is a much better Bengals team because they actually won a playoff game a couple of years, made the Super Bowl. There's no reason for them to not be good offensively.
Yeah.
Defensively, though, there are gaps, mainly in the secondary. I get they have the I words. Their front is good, but outside of Cam Taylor-Britt, that secondary is baby food. And Lamar showed it last week, the way he was dicing up to not just Zay or Bate, to Tylan Wallace, to Mark Andrews, to Charlie Kolar, and obviously Isaiah Likely 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Dre, I don't hate that take. He said the Browns have been terrible, but I think they beat the Bengals next week. I can see that strictly because it's a divisional game. And it won't be because of the offense. It'll be because maybe Myles Garrett makes a play or two. Maybe the Browns defense makes a play or two. But I just, and seeing that Joe Burrow still hasn't been throwing the ball how, like they talked about last night, how like the same grip, the same popped out of his hand. That's a big concern. I don't think anybody's talking about. I think the best throw he made was that Jamar Chase throw, and he's not 100% healthy. And Jamar,
That's
he's
another
pissed.
one of those. That's another one of those I words where when it gets cold, that might start to flare up a little bit worse.
Yes. Like they're a great team, I think on paper. It's just they're not putting together, and offensively they should be putting up 28 minimum. They have the talent. Just they're not. Even Gesicki's a solid tight end for their offense. They made it work with Hayden Hurst.
Yeah. So yeah. Interesting slate yesterday, to say the
Not my
least.
team.
Some good games, some close games. You had the Texans walking over the Patriots by 20. You had the Chargers beat the Broncos 23-16 and kind of a close one there. I heard news about that when Jim Harbaugh had to leave the sideline because of some heart issues at one point. He ended up coming back. I was glad to hear he was doing okay.
Yeah, that was a little nerve-wracking. I know Harbaugh, John that is, stopped his presser early to go and check on his brother.
Yeah.
So glad he's good. And yeah, they were up, I think they were up 20-0 in that game, and the Broncos coming back, 23-16. We can't take them, lightly when they come here. They have a really good defense. I know the Chargers did what they had to do with a Greg Roman offense, but can't underestimate any team. We had that bozo loss with the Raiders. That's what we call it from now on, a bozo loss. We have one every year, and you can't have.
You got it out of the way early.
Yeah, we got the way early last year with the Colts. But yeah, Patrick Surtain, I think he's making a case for Defensive Player of the Year. I don't think he'll win it, but you'll definitely be talking about him. Fantastic corner.
Yeah.
Bo Nix kind of came down to earth yesterday, but Cortland Sutton made that fantastic one-handed catch. I mean, we've talked about maybe if we were to get him, D-Hop, Devontae, like a guy like that could really help us out. I'm not expecting 100-yard games here and there, but it's a guy who can make a big play, a conversion that we need.
Would love that.
Yeah, that would be something. One game, you brought up the Texans and the Patriots. Drake May, NFL debut.
Yeah. Had a nice deep ball down the sideline for a touchdown. I thought that was a pretty perfect throw. Pretty throw. But, I mean, with the Patriots right now, I think it's good that they threw him out there. Just let him get his feet wet a little bit. Even if he's not going to win you a bunch of games, maybe the offensive line get some, I don't even want to say banged up, but it's going to give him a rough time in spots. You got to get him that experience, man, because you're not just going to continue to roll with Jacoby Brissett. Jacoby Brissett is a bridge quarterback and absolutely nothing else. Nothing else. Jacoby Brissett is never going to win you a Super Bowl. So it's like, why not get your new quarterback, your fresh rookie quarterback, some reps? So good to see. But of course, the Texans walk all over them because the Texans are doing what they do. I can't wait to play them on Christmas Day. That should be a really, really good game. Okay, Alex, let's go ahead and move on to our last part of this episode here. And I just want to bring this up because we have time still, right? We've still got time.
Yes.
And, on Thursday's episode, we said we weren't doing the Purple Rain parlays, right? The Purple Rain parlays, they haven't really been hitting that much, and mainly because of how unpredictable this Ravens offense has. And trust me, we're not complaining. We want Todd Monken to be unpredictable with it. You know what I mean? Like let's keep our money off of that, right? But what we decided to do is start a Purple Rain podcast ladder challenge, right? So we're gonna pick one straight bet each and every week and see if we can turn $10 into $10,000, right? And we're starting this week with this Monday night game tonight that's getting ready to kick off in about 45 minutes, maybe less. Jets and Bills. We've got Josh Allen at over 34.5 rushing yards. It's 34.5.
The line
right,
went
Alex?
up. The line went up. It was 33.5. Now it's 38.5 because James Cook is out.
Ooh.
I should have taken it earlier.
You didn't take it? Alex.
I didn't.
Come on, bro. I took it at 34.5 the other day.
Okay. I mean, I'll take it at 38.5. I think he gets it either way, but I'm putting my 10 on that. I think he'll get 40 plus.
Okay. Yeah, I think you should too. Yeah. He should get 40. Yeah. He should get 40. But yeah, if you tail that, right, let us know. Actually, let us know down below in the comments. If you tailed the ladder challenge, the first one, let us know down below in the comments, because on the next episode, on Thursday's episode of the show, either by that time we'll have won or we'll have lost, and we'll get into our next play to continue climbing the ladder. So this is going to be a lot of fun, I think. It's going to be a lot
It
more
is.
interesting, I think, than just like the regular parlays because we can kind of go week to week and we can
Right.
build. It's gonna be a lot of fun. It's gonna be a lot of fun. So, shout out to all you guys who are tailing us on that. What's up?
I think about this past week, the Ravens game. A leg we always went to was Rashad Bateman. And whether it be the yards or the catches, they both went over. 4 for 71. I think the 2.5 receptions, like 28.5 yards was like the receiving line. Like it would have went over. Probably a Derrick Henry touchdown. There's 2 legs. And probably like a Zay Flowers for the 3rd leg or something. Like we knew this Commander secondary was really bad. And we probably picked that, but but it's fine. This is different, and we'll see how it goes. So hopefully Josh Allen does the thing. Like maybe rips off like a 50-yard rushing touchdown early and just gets it out the way. That's like, all right, cool. Day 1, easy. One final thing, Oscar here says, can we talk about our guy, Joseph Vincent Flacco? Yeah, we can. Going and beating them Titans. Had Michael Pittman going up there with a bad back touchdown. Happy for Joe. Living the life as a backup quarterback, and he'll be back on the bench next week when AR starts. He'll be chilling, getting his game checks, having fun. Good for Joe.
Did you see? I mean, here's your weekly Joe Flacco house money moment, right? Did you see the touchdown that he throws? Like he just kind of floats it up into the end zone. I can't remember who it was too, but who throws that? Like what quarterback in this league is just gonna loft it up there like that? Just like I don't really care if this gets picked or not. I'm just gonna toss it up. Hopefully my guy makes a play, right? Like I'm not concerned about getting benched. I'm not concerned about what coach is gonna say in film study on Monday. Like I'm not concerned about any of that. I'm just gonna toss it up. And that's what he does. He's playing with house money. He's having fun. We love to see it.
I don't want to be that guy. There's a couple of teams Joe would still start for. All right. There's a good amount, I think, in this NFL, in this league, I think he starts for. The Raiders, I think.
Yes.
The Saints, I think. I think you look at what Derek Carr's done in previous years, and you look at the way Joe finished last year. I like that. I want to say the Panthers, but Bryce Young obviously is their guy. He's #1 overall pick, but I think I'd take Joe over Andy Dalton.
Joe could start. Yeah, he could start.
Man. I'm not gonna say Geno because Geno's shown me something sometimes. Geno Smith, that is, but the way he's looked so far this year, it's been a little iffy these past couple of games.
Yeah.
Dolphins. He would start
right now
for them Dolphins.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think that would probably be about it, I would say. I mean, I don't want to say Denver because I think you got promise in Bo Nix. But
Oscar says the Browns. Yeah, he started for the Browns.
Oh, for sure. He could go back there and yeah. Man, the Browns are just dumpster fire right now. Absolute dumpster fire. But okay. We have about 30 minutes or so until Monday Night Football. We're gonna go ahead and leave you guys here about $1:22 into this episode 271 of the Purple Rain podcast. Thank you guys so much for coming through. We still got over 360 people watching live right now. A lot of you guys on Twitter. Shout out to Twitter. Hello, Twitter. Appreciate y'all for coming through. If you're on YouTube, though, make sure you like this video on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel as well. We got a lot more Ravens content coming your way. We're only going to get better, guys. We promise. We're only going to get better. So make sure you stay tuned with us here. But yeah, like always, you can follow us on Instagram at the Purple Rain Podcast, like you see down below. You can follow me on Twitter or Instagram at Sutton Def. And guys, like I know I say Twitter and I say X sometimes, and sometimes, I just kind of flip-flop back and forth. It'll probably be that way forever. I'm sorry. It just is what it is. But you can follow Simply AS10 here at Simply AS10 on X. And then on Instagram, you can follow him at simplyas10.prod. Just like you see down below there. And like he led the episode with Manscaped. Manscaped.com. You can go ahead and stack your cart to the ceiling. We are getting into the holiday months here soon. I mean, we got Halloween. That's like the appetizer for the holiday season. Then before you know it, you got Thanksgiving. And then you got Christmas. It's going to come around the corner really quickly. It's going to sneak up on you. So make sure you go on manscaped.com. Make sure you get yourself or a loved one a gift off of that website. Use our code PRP. 20% off plus the free international shipping. Again, thank you guys so much for coming through this episode. If you're just getting in here, make sure you rewind. We had a really good conversation with Engraven Video. Shout out to him for joining this episode and being a feature on this episode of the show. And with that being said, I'm going to let my guy Alex take us out.
Thank you for coming through. episode 271 of the Purple Rain Podcast. We love you. We appreciate you. Another Victory Monday, another great Monday, another great week. As always, stay positive, test negative.
Yes. And like Bob says, like that video before you go. Yes, and never, ever, ever forget, even on the rainiest of days, to call God. In episode 271 of the Purple Rain Podcast, we're going to catch you guys in the next one.